Hello, and welcome to episode 112 of Things I Learned from Barry Harris. And today I thought we would talk about the topic of altered dominance. So I think the definition of an altered dominant is the 9 being raised or lowered, or the 5th being raised or lowered. So either sharp 5, sharp 9, or a flat 9, flat 5, or a flat 9, raised 5, whichever, or a raised 9, whichever way you want to go with it. But what I find the most interesting is, according to, and I don't know if I have this correct, but according to most theories, it's this kind of separate thing where they say, well, you can use these particular intervals because it gives you this particular sound, this altered sound. But what I find fascinating with Barry's is Barry's gives you a why. Like, why can we alter these sounds? Why can we alter these notes? Why does that work? So I thought we would use as an example just a normal G7. Now, if you're a Barry person, you know the hierarchy of chords basically is you got your chromatic scale, which was the universe. Then the universe breaks apart into 2 whole tone scales, which is beautiful. And then from the 2 whole tone scales, you take 2 notes from one whole tone scale and 2 notes from another, and you create a diminished. You can do that 3 times. So this G7 comes from one of those 3 diminishes, because this is how we find out how we get all the different dominants that belong to one particular diminished. Let's say we took A flat diminished, and the way we find all the dominants that come from that one diminished is we lower a note at a time. So the first note we lowered was A flat to G, that gives you G7. The next note we lower is going to be D to D flat, that gives you D flat 7. The next note we lower is going to be F to E, that gives you E7. The next note we lower is the top note, which would be B, and you lower it to B flat, and then you have B flat 7. So you see, there's your 4 dominants, or your 4 family members. You got G7, B flat 7, D flat 7, and E7. Now that's one interesting thing that you can do with it, and there are people that discuss that. But the other interesting thing that I've never heard anybody else discuss is if you take that same A flat diminished and you raise a note, what's interesting is you get the 4 minor 6s that are connected to those dominants, meaning the minor 6 that's found on the 5th. So for instance, if we raise the A flat a half step, now we get D minor 6 to A, now we got D minor 6. D minor 6 is the minor 6 found on the 5th of G7. It's beautiful, so there's your D minor 6. Then if we raise, let's say the D up a half step to E flat, now we get A flat minor 6, which is also beautiful, which is the minor 6 on the 5th of D flat 7. Then you're going to raise the F natural to F sharp, and now you're going to get B minor 6, which is beautiful also, and that B minor 6 is the minor 6 found on the 5th of E7. The last one is going to be raising B to C, and now you get F minor 6. It's beautiful. So now you have all of these family members. You have the 4 dominants, and you have the 4 minor 6s that are connected with those dominants. Okay, so what do we do with that information? Well, now you know if I play a chord like G7, I guess it would be called G7, flat 9, sharp 5. So there's a flat 9, there's a sharp 5. This flat 9 is on top, sharp 5. Now you could think, and I know people think, well, the scale that we play on that is we play the melodic minor. That's a half step above the G7. So that would be A flat melodic minor. Oh. That's A flat melodic minor. That's great. And those notes are correct, but that doesn't tell you everything, and it doesn't tell you why. I've heard many teachers talk about, well, you just play the melodic minor a half step up from G7, and then you get those pretty notes. But it doesn't tell you why. Barry's system tells you why. because G7 and A flat minor 6 come from the same diminished, so they're family. So it makes total sense. So now, instead of saying, I wouldn't say to play A flat melodic minor, I would say to play A flat minor 6 diminished scale, one of Barry's 4 scales. So I would say play this scale, because within that you're going to have the melodic minor, but you're also going to have the harmonic minor. You're going to have both. So as far as I can tell, which scale would be greater? The melodic minor, or the harmonic minor, or the minor 6 diminished, which has both of those scales in it and explains why you can use it over G7. I don't think there's a question. That's the answer. The answer is A flat minor 6. So you got to be able to know your A flat minor 6, which is why if you play all your, drop 2 stuff, or if you play your contrary motion stuff, it's going to sound beautiful over that. So I'll do, let's say if I'm playing D minor G7. When I'm chording, I'm thinking, look, here's F6 diminished for D minor. Now here's A flat minor 6. It's really pretty. Those are really important things. So what I find is Barry gives you the why, where nobody else does. Not at least as far as I've ever heard. I just hear people all the time say, oh, on this chord, you just throw this scale on top of it. Why? Where did melodic minor come from all of a sudden? I don't know. Why do we put it on top of G7? Well, it gives us those, the altered sounds. Correct, it does. But it doesn't tell you why. Why does that go with that? Barry's system tells you why. It makes perfect sense. And also when you're chording, it makes sense. So another one that people do is, let's say, the sharp 9. Now the sharp 9 is a pretty note. And all that is, if you want to think about it, is go back to your G7. If you think about the sharp 9, that's a B flat. And isn't B flat one of the dominant family members? You got G7, you got B flat 7, you got D flat 7, and you got E7. There's another family member. So there's your sharp 9. What about the flat 5? Flat 5 is the same thing, right? Because we have G7, A flat, B flat 7, D flat. There's your flat 5. So you see how Barry's system of seeing it starting from the diminished, looking at the diminished, breaking into dominant, 4 dominants and 4 minor 6s. You see how it gives you all the answers to basically every alteration you're going to have. Let's say we want to just do G9. That's G9. That means it has an A in it. Well, the G9 happens to be also D minor 6. And D minor 6 is one of the important minors found on the 5th of G7, which the D minor 6 came from that same A flat diminished too. There you go. So it's amazing that this one concept of starting at chromatic scale, leading to 2 whole tones, leading to the 3 diminishes, and then each diminished, you find its dominant family members and you find its minor 6 family members. When you start to look at music like that, then you also have the why. And I don't know why the why is so empowering, but it certainly is. It beats having a teacher tell you, oh, don't even think about it, just play this scale over that, and it's going to work. And melodic minor does work. Of course it does work over a G7. A flat melodic minor works beautifully. And I love the notes of A flat melodic minor, but I love A flat minor 6 diminished more because it's got that flat 6 in it too. I love it more than melodic and harmonic. I love it. Not to say that you shouldn't practice those. I get it. You should. But at least if you learn this, you learn where the source is. I think. I've never heard it disputed. So anyway, just a little quick one in talking about, instead of thinking altered dominant, I want everybody to start thinking just playing with family members. Until next time.